Hello, guys. I wanted to come here and sit and have a conversation. I will call this Penny for My Thoughts. Usually, everyone sees me on here sharing my poems and my quotes that I share, but I wanted to come here and have a conversation because I'm on a journey. If you don't know me, my name is Vanessa. Um, I am married. I have a daughter. She's autistic, but she's very smart. Her name is Faith. And I just wanted to come here and tell a little bit about myself and have a conversation on the journey that I'm on and the journey that I am writing and just finding my purpose and finding myself and staying strong in my faith. Here with me. We're going to have a long conversation. I wanted to come here and just talk about the journey that I am on in just finding my purpose and just using my purpose and using my creativity and being comfortable, being worthy to use it. So usually I'm on here, I'm writing, I'm filming my quotes that I write, and these are quotes that I actually write. And just being outspoken, and I love to be outspoken and be creative and live in my truth and be expressive. I've always been that way. I've always been outspoken since I was a kid. But I've had a lot of growth and I've been through a lot in my life and trauma in every category. And just not being stable and I don't come from stability. I've as a kid I lived with a lot of family members. I've had younger parents. They were teenagers when they had me and pretty much everybody had to raise me. The older I get, the more knowledgeable I get and the more wisdom I have and the more growth that I have. And no matter what I've gone through or been through, I've tried not to let that dictate, like where they say it's not where you come from, it's where you're going. And I completely believe that. So, but I've struggled. I've struggled on finding my purpose and just knowing that I have something in me, but not knowing what to do with it and not feeling worthy enough. And just knowing that I just always just had something in me, but just being afraid to search it and afraid to use it. So I call this writing my journey because I'm basically writing my journey. So I've always been a good writer. I've always been a good writer since elementary school. I've always been a good writer, but I have ADHD, so my focus wasn't always the best. And throughout school, I was in smaller class settings, and I had a behavioral problem too. But I can remember just having writing assignments and things like that, and I would just get lost in it and just lose myself in it. And I hated doing it. I hated writing, but I was always good at it. Very good at it to the point where I would see it as if it was like a movie or it was playing in my head as I was writing it. And I've always been outspoken, as I mentioned. And even then it was so, like I say, it's I've been through a lot. So even then I didn't, realize that I was very good at it as much, because I didn't I just it was just something that I just was like, okay, I'm good at doing. But so that's in elementary school. Fast forward to middle school. Every writing class I've had, I've aced. Now, middle school, I like I said, my attention span, so I didn't get the when I got to middle school, I didn't get the best grades. And plus I was going through a transition. Like I said, I've lived with different family members, so I went from one state to another. And just things with that, and transitioning, and everything else. And so in middle school, I didn't get the best grades. They were going to hold me back, actually. But in my writing classes and my reading classes, I always excelled in it. They were like, well, she's reading at a higher grade level, and I was always good at writing. But, everything else was just, I wouldn't say covering that, but just going on. So fast forward, I get to high school, and I went to a charter school, because and the school I went to was a middle school and a high school, and it was a charter school. And seeing as though in my regular school they was gonna hold me back, they were like, okay. I lived with my grandmother at the time. She's like, I'm gonna put her in a charter school. It's a smaller class setting. They're organized a little bit differently. So I went there, and they had, I don't believe, and I was in about eighth grade. I don't believe I had any writing classes at the time. I could have, but I don't even remember. But once I got there, I graduated out of eighth grade. Then I stayed in the same school, so it was a high school. So when I went to ninth grade, I was in the same school, but they moved me to a different school because they had two buildings. So the school had another building that was closer to my house. So they moved me there. And in that school, we had writing classes, and we also had, I'm from Pennsylvania, so we had what they call pass the test. And I don't I don't even know what it's. I just know everybody hated it. Me too. Like, who wants to take a test for hours? And they had to like set a time out where you could take the test. So I did the test, and I don't even know what grade I even got on the test. I don't know. It probably wasn't the best, but they had a writing portion of it, and I don't even know what they gave you. They gave you like something to write about. I don't even remember what it was, but I didn't even really care about it, really. But I just wrote it. Like, I it could be something I don't even care about, and I still use the same process and just write it, and it's just like a movie, and it to me, and it becomes real, and I will lose myself in writing anything. And I end up getting a certificate for it sent to my house, and I didn't even know what it meant. I was like, oh, okay, it's just I got a good grade on the writing. They sent me a certificate, but I don't. It wasn't a certificate that they sent everybody, so I didn't recognize that until I got into an adult, until I got. Like, okay, but it was a recognition of just, okay, okay, good writer, and so I got that certificate, and then fast forward towards me getting close to graduate from high school. And that's when I started really horning in, because I'm like, I want to graduate on time, period. So let me go through all what classes I owe what in. I kind of screwed around a little bit, but let me find out what I need to do. So they did say I was missing a couple credits, and really not that much. And they said, okay, well, certain classes you got to do this. Then it came to, in our school, they had where you could do a final senior product, and it was a big part of your grade. Like, a very big part of your grade. In the final senior project, you can do an art piece, you can do a dance piece, you can do a research paper. They have some other stuff too, but I can't even remember it. But once they said the research paper, I was like, okay, I'm a good writer. I'm gonna do and even though I didn't really believe in myself, for some reason, anytime something come up as writing, I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, yeah, I got this in a bag, because even though I don't really believe too much in myself, I just know that I could at least get to pass basics. So they said, okay, you do the research paper. Okay, I'm doing the research paper because I know how I write. So they gave the research paper. The principal was like, okay, write about a issue in the world or America or something like that. So I picked poverty. They assign you a teacher or like a mentor to help you. So I had my mentor. I hijacked another mentor. I hijacked another teacher that wasn't even a part of it, but she was one of my writing teachers. So I had two teachers helping me, and I dedicated myself to this. I was because I want to graduate on time. I would go to school an hour early, and I would stay an hour later if I didn't have to work, because I had a job during high school. So if I didn't have to work that day, I would stay at school. Then I would be at home all night working on this paper. And I would report back to them, and they would help me do things like put in footnotes and put in where I got sources at and things like that. Because even though I'm a good writer, I always need, like, I just write. I would just lose myself in it and write. And I need help with run on sentences and edits and everything. I have good ideas, but the organization of it needs to be cleaned up. So they helped me with that. I did the paper, I got it all finished, and I was so appreciative of the two teachers that helped me. I gave them cards and I thanked them, and because this was a big part of my grade. And I turned in the paper. Didn't think anything of it. I said, okay, I get an okay grade. Turned in the paper. One day, as I was in high school, I'm in class. I forget what class I was in. The principal came in the classroom and stopped the entire class. Didn't ask the teacher or anything. He just came in and interrupted the class. And he was like, I want to congratulate you because your paper was the best paper I ever read. You have a perfect grade on your paper, a 4.0. You have the highest research paper grade in the history of this high school. And I wanted to come in here personally and congratulate you. And that made me just feel so good, because I was like, I didn't even think anything of it. I just know I'm an okay writer, but I didn't think that he was going to come in and interrupt the class for me. So, that made me feel special. But still at the time, I still didn't really I still had those insecurities and not believing in myself and things like that. So fast forward, I graduated out of high school, and I didn't go to college right away because I just didn't believe in myself. I felt like, okay, I don't think I can get through it. So I waited. I worked a job, everything. 2012, I applied for college, and I was like, okay, well, I want to get in the medical field, but I'm not the nurse type. I'm not the aide. I can't just take care of anybody, but I'll do clerical. I'll do in the office. So I went to school for medical office management, got an associate degree. I had in my class, well, I took a pre-writing class. And I forgot what it was called, like pre-writing. I guess that's when they just, see where you're at. I aced that class, and I knew I was going to ace it because I aced every writing class I've ever had in my life. So I aced that class, and I had another writing class which was called like Writing One. And the my Writing One teacher, she was very impressed with me too, because we would read books, and some of the books I really wasn't interested in, but she would have us write quotations in the pages of what we thought the author was explaining, and our emotion about it and things like that. And I did that with flying colors, because I'm already not only do I write like it's a movie, I read like it's a movie. When I read things, I see it. When I write things, I see it. It's like it's happening. It's like I'm there. And So I aced that class. I had another class was like a medical class, and my teacher wanted us to write like if as if we was a doctor giving a patient a diagnosis and use like doctor terms. So me, I put my mind in the mindset of a doctor. And even though, I don't know all the terms, but the words I used for the scenario really impressed her. And she was like, okay, well, I want you to read this now. We didn't have, it was like something going on. We didn't have a lot of students in the classroom. She's like, I want you to read it to me, but I want you to read it again when we have all the students because I want to use you as an example. So I read it for her. She was just so, so impressed. And when the other students came back, she was basically using me as an example, like, see, this is what she wrote, use her as example. You see how she did this and you see how she did that. And so I was like, okay, that's giving me encouragement of the writing, but still I had insecurities. Still didn't feel like, I was just, but I just knew I just always had just something in me far as expression and writing. So fast forward, I graduated. Well, backtrack. So I was when I tell you, when I started going to school, I was so excited and I dedicated myself. I dedicated myself to the point where I was on the dean's list 3 times. 3 times I was on the dean's list. And I got invited to the National Society of Leadership and Success. And you have to be invited for that. So I got into that, and then you got to pay like a fee or something like that to get into that. And I'm still in it. I have a plaque and everything. Also, I got top of my class. Now, I'm a person that after I graduated high school, I felt like I didn't want to go to school, so I felt like I couldn't do it. And I got ADHD and I can't focus, and I almost failed middle school. But when I went in there, I applied myself. And I learned so much about myself. I learned how I love learning and I love words. And it just helped me to find out that I could, whatever I thought I couldn't do, I can do it 2 times better. And I was doing that. And I was also doing, while I was going to school, I was doing an internship at a doctor's office. And I did that, I got that out early. But still, I still have my insecurities and you can't do this and you can't do that. And, you just all those things that run in your head. And so fast forward that I graduated top of my class. I have a plaque for that. Graduated with a 3.8 grade point average. And I was so happy about that because I was like, I'm the one that almost failed 7th grade. Couldn't focus and everything else. So for me to graduate with a 3.8 grade point average in college and get all these recognitions and stuff like that because I applied myself. Even in classes I didn't like, I applied myself. And my mentor she was like, you're one of the most dedicated students that I have. One of the most dedicated. And so after that, after I graduated, I went to try to go work at a doctor's office, but they wouldn't let me because they said I didn't have enough experience, which you know how that goes. Even though I did a 6-month internship and they required far as experience for a year to get in the doctor's office, but so I ended up doing housekeeping. I am a very hard worker. I will do what I have to do. I got into housekeeping to get my foot in the door, and I will do what I have to do. I'm a very hard worker. I like to stay busy. So, then after that, I got married. A year after, well, I wouldn't say a year, but in the middle of my marriage plans, I got pregnant. So got married and had a baby within a month of each other. But my husband, we've been through this all. He's been through college, everything. He's been there. At the time I was in college, he was my fiance. So fast forward that I after I had my daughter, I would say when I really 2000 and I had her in 2016. 2017 is when I really like horned in and started embracing me being a writer. And I think it was one day I was mad at my husband and I just started writing. Just started writing nonstop and just writing feelings and everything. And I just started writing. And I felt like that opened a door. Whatever door was closed, I felt like it opened it. And once I started embracing writing, it changed me as a person. It made me it made me more open. I used to be a person that didn't really like to talk much. I had vulnerability issues and everything, because I've been through so much in my life and so much in my childhood, and I felt like I had to be hard all the time, and I felt like I had to block my heart all the time, and block my mind, and be defensive, and all of that. And me embracing writing and God helped me to open myself up and be more expressive, and live in my truth. Live in my truth to the point where if somebody had anything to say about me or whatever, I can admit to it before anybody else can. It helped me live in my truth, and I just started writing. And once I opened that door, everything else opened up. And I started writing more. Things would pop up in my head, and I would write them. One day, I opened the refrigerator to get some water, and a whole poem popped up in my head, and it was what I was feeling at the time, because like I said, I felt more open, and I felt more expressive, and I felt like it just opened other doors in me. And I wrote a poem called I'm Wide Awake, and it was just like everything that woke up in me. No, everything that woke up in me of knowing who I want to be, and knowing who I am, and knowing that I'm not just good at this, that just may just be a gift or a talent. And I wrote this poem in 5 minutes, and that made me started writing other things, and I wrote a poem about, because just a lot in my immediate family has been a lot of women that's just been domestic violence. My mother, my sister, just domestic violence. And at the time, I wrote a poem about it. Not because I've never had to deal with like domestic violence, but I put my mind in the shoes of a person and a woman that was going through it, and I wrote a poem of just about strength. And the poem is called Strength of the Battered Woman. And if you go in to my videos, you'll see I read the poem, and I'll put a link of it in here if you can't see it. But it's called Strength of a Battered Woman. And just even though me not going through that personally, I felt like I did. And I felt like it brought up a strength in me of saying, okay, I'm the battered woman, but I have my power. I'm taking whatever strength that, the person did to you or whatever, I'm taking the power back. And even if you had a little bit of my power, you don't have a whole lot. So I wrote that, and then I started a book. I started a book called Strength of the Battered Woman, and I'm not gonna go into detail with it because I'm still writing it. So, but even though I, embrace writing and everything else, I still have my insecurities. I still felt like, this is just something, I'm good at. And in me writing my poems, then I started writing quotes. And I feel like God put so much encouragement in me. And even when I can't encourage myself, I feel like I can encourage other people. And it frustrated me because I'm like, God, I don't know what you want me to do with this. Like, I feel like everything I write is motivation. I don't even try to write these. Everything I write is motivating and encouraging and everything. Everything I write, from the poems to even like the quotes. And there were some things that I wrote too and I can go back and look at, like, of me just feeling lost and like feeling like, even though I'm a good writer, do I need other people to tell me I'm a good writer? Do I need validation? Like, there were times I felt like I needed validation, and I wrote about it. And I can go back and see, and everything I write, I know how I felt. And then I just think to myself, well, there's other people that think this way. There's other people that have anxiety like me. There's other people that's been through a lot of things like me. And I know I've had the strength of encouraging myself, but I've also been through having too much strength, and not being able to be vulnerable, and feeling like I have to be rough and tough all the time, and just not being able to tap in emotional side, and not being even able to cry, where my anger was intertwined with my emotions. Like, the only time I would cry if I was upset, and just feeling like, and going to therapy and be like, and tell my therapist, I feel like a robot. I feel like things have happened to me, and I've gone through things, and I just went through a lot of it alone, and just having strength, but then not knowing how to have strength and weakness, and not knowing how to be weak too, and knowing that I can have strength, not just in strength, but having strength and weakness. And just my own insecurities just throughout the years. And I would and once I started like writing quotes, I've never stopped writing quotes. I'll write quotes however I feel. If something goes on, or whatever, I take motivation out of it, and it started making me even getting better, even faithfully. I mean, I've always had faith. You know, I've always just thought different than I felt like than the people that are around me, or even like family or stuff like that. Like, I always felt like I had wisdom, but I didn't want to even speak about it, because I didn't want to feel like I was better. I didn't want to feel like I had my own insecurities of just not feeling worthy, and just and then I had a point where I got strong in my faith, and I started to pray more. And every time I would pray, God guide me. I wouldn't pray for money. I wouldn't pray for materialistic things. It was, God guide me. God, I feel like I got a purpose, God. I don't know what to do about it. I feel like something is in me, and I don't know where to put it. I just feel like I'm just this cup that's just gonna overflow, and I don't know what to do with it. And just always in to backtrack, when I was in high school, I used to ride the city bus. I mean, me and everybody, all my friends, none of us had cars. So we rode the city bus, and one day I got on the bus, and I'm listening to music, because I always listen to music, loud music. I got on the bus. I remember it like it was yesterday. I walked on the bus, and it was like something in my ear was like, "There's a blessing over your life." And that was it, clear as day. And I didn't even think anything out about it, but I did. In the back of my mind, I was like, I don't know what that means, but it never left me. And for years, I prayed about it. I said, God, I know that had to be you talking to me. Like, and even in my mindset, I had like I wasn't the most prayer, not like I am now. Now I pray for everything. I am the prayer addict. But back then I didn't. I didn't. And though I would go to church every Sunday, but my prayer life and my personal life with God wasn't as strong. It was, but it needed some tweaking. So, and I just remember that, and to this day I can remember it like it was yesterday. And I would pray when I started really praying. I would pray like, God, like, give me a purpose. I feel like I used to want to be a singer. I used to want to be a veterinarian, and I always felt like I just wanted to be all these different things, and I still was lost. Like, just lost, don't know what I want to do. Even me going to college, I still was like, I don't know, like, and I used to think that people like only like doctors and lawyers had purposes, or like singers, and if you just say it, you just don't get a purpose, and that's just it. And just praying all the time, like, God, I feel like you put something in me. I don't know what to do. It is driving me nuts. Like, what do I do about it? I just know I like writing. I know writing made me more expressive and everything else. And not only expressive, I have a sense of humor, and I've always had a sense of humor. I'm the one that, like, class guy, crack jokes all throughout school, middle school, elementary. I would crack jokes all the time. So I have a very big sense of humor. I love anything comedy. I'm very witty. I'm very sarcastic. I all any saying or phrase that I say, I come up with, and I'm very creative. So that's just me, and I feel like God gave me that personality anyway to just be expressive, and I'm already very creative and already very witty, and I love double entendres, and I can write those, and double meaning and just things like that. And I love words, and I love expression. And I just always, I would pray. I'm like, God, I feel like you've put so much inspiration in me, and motivation in me. Everything I write is motivating. Everything I everything come out of me is some type of motivation, and just do do better, and it's not where you coming from, it's where you going type stuff. And it every time, even something goes on, or whatever, like, or how I feel, I'm an emotional writer too. I can feel bad, and still I can write something that can motivate somebody, or and it's just crazy. It was just crazy to me, and I'm like, God, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, I just do I have a purpose? I can count how many times I've prayed and be like, God, I need a purpose. What am I on earth for? What do you want me to do? Like, I don't know. So, and just feeling lost. Like, I'm like, I got a little accomplishments. I'm not the best. I don't got a master's degree. I don't got a bachelor's degree. I got a little associate degree in medical office management, but even that opened up doors of me going to school, and knowing that I can do it and how much to learn. And I just feel like that's a piece of the puzzle. So fast forward, back onto the book. I started writing the book. Then I felt like I stopped believing in myself with the book. I felt like I was forcing things, and I don't like, if I feel like I got a forced idea, I like doing everything authentic. So I stopped the book. I stopped writing the book. In 2018, I stopped writing the book, and I just put it away. And I was going to throw it away too. I wrote 7 chapters of this book in a month. 7 chapters, and I was just gonna throw it all away. And I didn't want to throw it away, so I just put it in a box and put it in the closet. So fast forward, me and fast forward, I'm still writing my quotes, and all that type of stuff, and just living life, and me and my husband, and we going through our stuff, and growing separately, and as individuals, and growing together, raising our daughter. And we've had some went through a lot, had some deaths in the family, mine and his. My grandma that raised me died, his mom, like, it's so a lot of things is going on. And even though all those things is going on, I'm still writing, I'm still being, still just using it, and but still not believing in myself too, still having those insecurities. And still, I will write on Facebook. So a lot of my quotes and things, or like things I felt that day, I'll write on Facebook. And I ever since I had a Facebook, and I'm very particular about what I do on social media too, because I don't cuss on social media, because there are people watching me. I have family, I have the pastor, everything. So I don't put out negativity on social media. So you won't see me putting negativity out on here. I'm very particular about that. I'm very respectful of older people, of my elders, and things like that. But I am very outspoken, so I'll tell you what I got to tell you, but I'll do it in a respectful way to that me and, well, we're adults. So on my Facebook, I would write quotes all the time and like just inspirational stuff all the time because I felt like with all the negativity that you see on there and everybody telling their drama and they all this other type of stuff, we need some positivity. So I also felt like so then that kind of made me insecure because I felt like even on my Facebook, and I don't have a whole lot of friends, I just got my family and stuff like that. I felt like a lot of times people only cared about the pictures that I post or stuff like that. And then I was like, well, I'm writing all these things, y'all only care about pictures. Like, and I started like, okay, and I started to feel like, do I need validation? I started to feel like I needed validation because I'm like, well, nobody's saying anything about what I'm writing. A couple people here and there, but this I get more views and likes and stuff on pictures and everything else, and I'm more than that. But so I went through a stage of like just feeling unvalidated. But then I had to think to myself, is I can't go on validation. If I would go on validation, I mean, I can't help people if I'm, oh, I got to do stuff on validation because that's selfish. So fast forward of that, me and my husband, we relocated here we live in Savannah. We're from Pennsylvania. We live in Savannah, Georgia. And I went through another stage of, before that, I went through another stage of vulnerability. Like God was working me in my vulnerability. And one day I was just driving and something was like, you need to open up and you need to be more vulnerable. That's what you need to do. I had a conversation with my husband. I thought that was like more about, God to like me and him, which it definitely helped with, some of our things and stuff like that. But I felt like that was a piece of a puzzle to myself too, because even though I embraced writing and even though I was more open and stuff, a part of me still needs to grow. So that was another involvement, and that happened when I was like 30. That was another piece of the puzzle of me, of my, of just growing in another part of my life that I needed to open up. And I wrote a quote about it, and it said, "I stopped living with walls when I started writing with mirrors." Basically, and that just goes back to what I said. When I started writing and writing with mirrors and actually seeing myself, the walls came down. And when I write things, it's it don't only be for me. It could be. I also like to God help me how to have empathy and put myself in other people's shoes. And I don't like judging. Not saying I don't judge, just human like, but I don't like judging people because I can be them at any point. You see the person on the street that's homeless, you can be them. Like I have a heart for homeless people because I could have been them at any point in time. Seriously. Like so I wrote a quote about that, and then fast forward, like I said, me and my husband, we relocated here. We relocated here, and we left our jobs. We come from a small town in Pennsylvania. Left our jobs, cash in 401ks, saved all our money and everything else. So we came down here with savings and pretty much nothing. And to me, not I also have the hustler mentality. So when some when you need it is on the go get it. So one day we went to a pawn shop and I had some things to pawn just to get money. Like I said, we relocating, starting back up again. I went to the pawn shop, pawned the stuff that I had that I really didn't care. It was like a ring and whatever. It wasn't my wedding ring, so I really didn't care about it. And we were driving from the pawn shop, and another quote come to my mind because I thought to myself, there are sometimes people got to go to pawn, even though the stuff that I pawn, I didn't care about it. There are some people that have to go and pawn things that they really care about in order to, and that's an uncomfortable situation, in order to do things like pay for medical bills or stuff like pay bills or like really things that they really need to do. And in 5 minutes, I thought a quote. And this quote was, God sometimes will have you do things that are uncomfortable to you, but necessary for you. And I use the analogy of saying turtlenecks are sometimes itchy and uncomfortable, but it keeps you warm. And things like that just pop up in my head all the time. And I wrote it. I wrote it on Facebook and I wrote it out. And then I started a blog. And I was like, God, you put these things in my head and I write them and I share them because I feel like when God give you something, I feel like you need to share it because I feel like I can help somebody. I feel like, the way I motivate myself, I can motivate somebody else. But then again, there were little insecurities of me of saying, okay, well, how can I help somebody? I told my therapist, how can I help anybody when I have my own issues? I'm talking to you as a therapist. And my therapist was like, you think that we all are perfect? Like some of us are talking to therapists. And I that's why I'm very big on mental health. I've been on to I had a therapist where I lived at and I got one now and I will have a therapist forever because talking is therapy to me. Writing is therapy to me. And so I really speak a lot about just mental health. I have anxiety. I have intrusive thoughts. And what I do is I go against everything my anxiety want me to do. Not not right, have these insecurities and things like that. And I'm like, nope, there's a woman inside of my mind that got a samurai sword that's cutting all the insecurities and doing it every time. I'm being intentional about it. And but still, I will pray like, God, I feel there will be days where I would just feel unproductive. I'm like, God, I just work a job and that's it. And that's just it. Like I just feel like there's so much to me. Even making these videos. I was afraid to make videos here on YouTube. I cried about it. And God was like, what are you fearing? You This is what you do. You express yourself. You can talk in a crowded room and be completely fine. You'll be a little nervous because your anxiety, but that other part of you that's very creative and expressive, that part will come out. So I started doing the YouTube videos and I started putting my quotes out there because I want to help people like I've helped myself and God has helped me because God has took me. I could, with all the stuff I've been through in my life, I could have been crazy somewhere, but I just, I feel like every piece of every puzzle, even the hard times, every piece of every puzzle has given me wisdom, and God constantly gives me. And I used to didn't even want to say that God give me wisdom because I didn't want to feel like I was better than anybody and all that, just not feeling worthy. And so I'm still writing my quotes and still writing my poems, and sometimes I would take little breaks. I was like, I just don't feel like writing today. I don't feel like being positive today because some days you just don't feel like being positive. You don't. But like, I felt like I would take that and God would put it in me, like take it and take inspiration and make inspiration out of it. And so then I started taking my quotes, some of my old ones and some new ones, and sharing it on here. And I was like, look, I'm giving it. I'm giving it. God, you give it to me, and I'm going to give it. And I'm going to stop letting these insecurities bother me. And just a couple years ago, I went through another phase of just focusing on myself a little bit more. I prayed about it too. I was like, God, I know I've prayed to you for years for a purpose, but like, is this my purpose? Like, is me writing, expressing myself, and all the motivation and all the inspiration that you pour into me that I don't know what to do with sometime, and I feel like I'm gonna burst. Like, is this my purpose, God? Like, And I told my mother, I said, if God told me to be a motivational speaker, I would do it in a heartbeat. If he said, quit your job and be a motivation, I'll do it. Because you got to have faith. My daughter's name Faith. My daughter's name ain't Faith for no reason. So take that. But, and that's another thing. I've had her name planned out for years before she was even born. So, and I'm the type of person, I look at everything as a blessing, even small things, a blessing. Everything is a blessing, and I pray about everything. I pray about everything because, like I said, I have anxiety. I worry so much. So the more I worry, I got to pray three times as much. And I don't care. I call myself a prayer addict, but look, I will pray because I worry a lot. And I do the opposite of what my mind wants to do. I try to do the opposite of worry. And sometimes I worry and not even notice it. But I try to be intentional about I'm not gonna let the devil take my mind and take my thoughts and all that. I'm not. Period. And I wrote like a little saying. I said, God got me on the mission. Devil on my back trying to beat me in submission. And I do things like that. Like I have a little notebook on my phone. I think of things, a phrase or whatever, I write it down. Sometimes I put it together, and sometimes I make a quote out of it, or sometimes I do double entendres and stuff like that. But I also felt like even my writing style, I was like, I got a weird writing style because sometimes, like I said, I'll just write and I'll put myself, I can write as a reporter, I can write as a doctor, I can whatever, like I'll put myself in it. And just this year, I had to look it up and it got a name. And I think they call it stream of conscious writing, where you can just put yourself in the person's shoes or whatever. And that made me feel better too. Like it made me it helped with the insecurity that I had, because I was insecure about my writing style. I was like, this is weird. I don't know why I write like this, and I'll just write and just won't even think about it. And it will just flow and just all my ideas come pouring out. And I would feel like I was doing too much because I would do like writing projects in school sometime, and I'll work with a group, and I had to do it in college, and they just felt like I was doing too much. So I felt like I was doing too much. I'm like, I'm just doing too much. I'm thinking too much and everything. And not only that, I'm an excessive thinker. I mean, my imagination is just, so all those things I was feeling bad about, but I was like, you know, why? These are things that God gave me. You know, and so instead of me be intentional about what my mind want me to think, feel bad about it, use it. So I would say last year I started the YouTube videos, and I got comfortable with that. But then I started feeling like unproductive, and you know, I'm like, I got a job. Yeah, I work at a job, but do I want to do this forever? And when I went to orientation at my job, it was you had to do group things. And I talked to this lady, and this lady was like, I don't even know this lady. She was like, if you have so much talent, why are you working for other people? I couldn't even answer her. I was like, I don't know. So God been working with me on that too. This year, I was like, I just felt unfulfilled, and I was just like, I just feel so unproductive. Like I go to work and I come back and that's it. And you know, I write my quotes and I write my poems and I do my videos and everything else. But like, you know, I don't know. So a couple of months ago, I went on Facebook and I was like, you know what? I'm a writer, period. I'm not going to continuously say that I'm not a writer when I'm always writing. Like, cause I felt like since I wasn't an author, I felt like I didn't publish anything. I felt like since I don't write every day, I don't read, books all the time. I can't quote famous writers. I can't quote famous authors or things like that. But everything about me is a writer. And I went on Facebook, I was like, I'm a writer. And I'm gonna stop not feeling like it. I am. And I'm going to stop feeling bad about just claiming it. I was feeling bad about claiming it. I was like, I'm going to claim it, period. And once I started doing that, I started even posting more here on on YouTube. Started getting more views and things like that, which I'm not all about views. Honestly, I want to help somebody, period. Give me your view, give me but I want to help somebody. I know that there are people that deal with anxiety like I do. I know that there are people that have gone through trauma in their life, in their childhood. They've gone through abuse. I know that. And if I could get myself through it, I can help somebody else to get through it. And I say this all the time. I told my mother this. I said, it's people that are on the edge of a ledge. And I could have been one of them if it had not been for just God just constantly working on me and constantly helping me grow and constantly making me not be in denial about my flaws and I'm intentional about every flaw I have. When I say I live in my truth, I live in my truth. I wrote a quote about it. Live in your truth so big to know that you're so tall that nobody can look down on you. Because you're living in your truth. You're too tall. You're not tall because you think you're better, but you're tall because you're living in your truth. And you live in your truth and you have flaws and you've been through things and people have done things to you and you've done things to people. So that's the reason why. And I'm like, God, use me. I'm not perfect. I'm not the best Christian. I'm not, even though I come from a Christian family, and that's a whole nother thing, but I know what it is to have a relationship with God. I know what it is to have faith. And I have to have faith because I worry so much. Because I got anxiety. But just because I have anxiety don't mean I am anxiety. And just this year, I was like, you know what, God? I'm going to claim everything that you've given me. I'm going to stop asking you, do I got a purpose? I'm going to stop asking you all these questions. And I felt like once I did that, something else opened. Another key unlocked another door. And I just felt like I had a purpose. And I felt like I don't have to question things anymore. So, and I wrote a quote about it. I was like, all these years, me questioning God about my purpose is like God, me sitting at a table and God putting a full glass of water in front of me and me not feeling worthy enough to take a sip. And that is exactly the way I've always felt. And that's how I think. I use the analogies of how I feel. That's how I feel. I felt like God gave me a glass full of water and it's been sitting there and I didn't feel worthy to even not took a gulp, but a sip. But I said, God, I'm gulping. I am gulping from here on out. And so I picked the book back up that I wrote and I put back in 2018. I picked the book back up and I read it because I never read it. I never actually read it. So I read it. I was like, this is a good book. And I said, you know what? I'm going to finish it. So I've been working on the book, I said, I'm going to finish it. I'm going to publish it. And I've been, reaching out for advice and things like that. I don't care. if I publish this book, I don't care if I don't make a dime, as long as I did it, as long as I believed in myself. That's all that matters to me. And as long as it helps somebody, because it is a book about domestic violence and inspiration, and it has humor in it, and it has dialogue. It has a lot of dialogue in it, and I was like, I got too much back and forth and everything else, but I had to research the way I write, and I was like, it's a lot of dialogue. That's not bad. And then I backtrack backtrack a little bit. I know I'm run over, like I say, I'm very expressive. Backtrack a little bit. So in 2020, I said I wanted to start my own business. But before that, I told my husband, I say 2019, I told my husband, and it was just an idea. I was like, I want to take the quotes I make and put it on things one day. And that was it. Come 2020, I said, I got a cricket machine because everybody was bored 2020. I got a cricket machine. And I was like, I love my cricket machine because I make so much things and all of the types. So I said, you know what? I think I should start a business. Like, I'm so good at this. And, I'm making stuff that's popular and all of the type of stuff. I'm going to start a business. Then I started doing a couple things, and then I kind of fell off on it. And I was like, oh, I'm not interested in doing like t-shirts and stuff like that. And I was doing everything else, like all these other things, what was popular and on Etsy or whatever, or this or that. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna make my own custom like cups and mugs and stuff like that. But then I fell off of that too. And I was just like, see, I also feel like I'm a procrastinator. So I was like, I'm not really in it. I'm spending all this. I ain't really in it. So I just put away that idea for the business. Just put it away. Then I I I would say maybe at the beginning of this year, the end of last year, I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go back to that idea that I told my husband about, of me taking what I write, my quotes and my things of what I write, because I don't like doing anything that it didn't come from me. If I say a quote or put it on social media, I wrote it. If it's a phrase, I wrote it. If it's an idea, it comes from me. So I was like, you know what? I think maybe I should, like, I don't, cause I wanna. When they say God give you a purpose, you wanna use it. You wanna use it, and you wanna to spread it. Because if you don't, I can tell you would feel like you gonna burst. So I was like, you know what? I think I should do that instead of me doing making a business out of everything else. Why don't I take what God give me and do it? But then I had an insecurity. I was like, well, do I feel right want to profit off of these things? I don't want to do this for views. I don't want to do this for popularity. I don't want to do it for money. I want to do it because God gave it to me, and He gives me wisdom, and He gives me expression, and I want to spread it out to the world. I want to spread it all out to you guys because I'm just like you. And I still have to motivate myself every day. I still get stressed and everything else. But when it comes to just feeling inspired, and I try to take inspiration from everything, even the negativity, even the negative thought. Because like I said, I've had to work through my intrusive thoughts and all the other type of stuff. But through all of that, still feeling inspired and wanting to inspire other people and motivate and to speak on mental health and things like that. I want a quote that I write, because I know how when you see a quote, it can change your perspective. Sometimes it can change lives and everything else. And I know how sometimes when I see a quote, even if I didn't write it, that resonates with me, and I can feel it in my heart how it makes me feel. And I want to be that. I want my quotes to to give perspective. And I always say this. I say, I may not be able to change your mind, but I can change your perspective. Because I'm an everyday person. Like, I am going through everyday things like anybody else. I don't have a lot of followers. I don't have a lot of, it's just me. I don't come on here. I come here and look just the way I look. I don't I don't clickbait, none of that. I just want to inspire and motivate. And I said, and I prayed about it. And I said, God, I want to inspire and motivate. I want to move. I want what you give me. I want to give it to other people. But if I succeed in it, and if I can succeed in it, then fine. If not, then fine. So I'm on a journey now. I am on a journey of starting a business and taking what I write and making a business out of it and seeing where God takes me. And I got a blindfold on and I'm completely walking out on faith. Completely. Because I don't know anything about, but I know about inspiration. I know about faith. I know about mental health. I know about those are the things I know about. And I'm going to take what I know about and have God help me and to just spread it out. So I'm writing, I'm finishing this book. I'm, you know, trying to get the business, get my business running and just coming on here and continuously to put out positivity. You won't see me put out any negativity. I am very outspoken and I'm a realist too. And I'm humorous. But I don't do the negative social media. I just don't. I don't. It's too much. And I feel like it's so much negativity out here on social media anyway. It really, really is. Really. And people are letting social media run their lives and their perspectives and their visions and everything else. And it's just like, think for yourself. God gave every person an individual mind. He didn't put, he didn't say everybody has to think the same. You don't. And if you got to stand alone for what's right, then stand alone for what's right. And that's what I believe in. You got to stand alone for what's right. If everybody else don't agree with you and you're standing on what's right, then stand on what's right. Who cares what anybody else got to say? Stand in your truth. Live in your truth. I am a firm believer in that because it's the most freeing thing ever. To live in your truth it's better than being rich. Because I've learned how to live my truth. I learned how to be happy broke. I learned how to be happy when things are going on. And I have anxiety and will get stressed out. But I've learned how to deal with things. And some days, don't get me wrong, some days, it's challenging. But I be intentional. And I pray a lot. A lot. I be like, God is going to get tired of me. But, I try to draw inspiration in whatever, in whoever, and it helps me a lot. It helped me to not and not only that, I don't like to be in denial about anything. I wrote a quote that says denial equals disservice, and it does. You're disserving yourself by being in denial, and sometimes, even people around you be in denial. That don't, that's them. But I am in a journey. I'm in a journey to continuously be expressive. I'm you can start a business out of it, and however it go is however it go. But I completely give all my faith to God. Completely. My faith, my thoughts, my heart, my mind, my soul, my spirit, and everything. All because I would not be nothing without God at all. And I understand there's some people that don't believe in God, and that is fine. I don't even judge them because you never know somebody's situation. You never know why they don't believe in God. So don't condemn them either. But and even me, I just say, look, I'm just a sinner that prays a lot. I'm just a sinner that pray a lot. I am no better than nobody. No better than nobody, but I want to use everything that God's given me. Everything I thought that was a flaw, everything that I felt insecure about. I'm being intentional about going against everything my negative mind, my anxiety mind, or the devil want me to think. And I just want to help, because I get help from helping others. And I don't even want to, and I say, God, if I do anything, help me don't turn selfish. Help me don't be a person that only does things for money or views. No, this is raw and this is real. If I don't get any views, I'm fine. If I don't, or I don't have the biggest fan base, I don't. But if I have a fan base, I will want it to be a real one. I see a lot of things out here of people do things, and it's just to get attention, and just it's negative. If you gonna give me attention, make sure you give me attention for being myself. Give me attention for being positive. Give me attention for that. Don't give me attention for my looks. Don't give me attention for popularity. This is me. And the way I am here on camera is the way I am with anybody. This is me. I don't know how to be nobody else but myself. And I give all that to God, because He is the one that has made me evolve and grow. And everything He gives me, I'm going to use it. But I want to be successful too. And I had to pray to myself. I was like, God, I don't know if I should make a business. I don't want to do things for money and everything else. But I feel like that's not the goal. Chase the purpose, chase the vision. Don't chase the money. Don't chase the views. Don't chase the likes. Chase the vision. And my vision is, I want to be able to put everything that God puts in me and fills me up with, and to share it. And that's just what I want to do. I'm going to continue on, put my quotes out here. I'm going to put some of my poems out here. I'm going to continue to do these little sit downs too, because, and take tea breaks. But I call this Penny for My Thoughts. And I'm going to come on here and just give you my thoughts, my real raw thoughts. Maybe you might not like it. Some may not, some will. But at the end of the day, you're going to respect me, because this is me. No clickbait, this is me. I know everything is not always going to be positive, and sometimes things is hard, but look on the brighter side if you can. A lot of my quotes in my little videos that you see I make, I be at work. But I'm going to come on here and I'm going to continue to just show my face and let you know who I am and how I think. And just to know that I'm continuing on walking in my purpose. And I've even found out, like, God don't just give you one purpose. He could give you many. It could be an umbrella of things. And that's what I'm ready to do. But again, my name is Vanessa, and you will see me again. But I want to thank everybody that views this, to know that this is me, the real me. And every time I come on here, you're going to see the real me. And I'm working on the things that God got me working on, and I'm on a mission. But thank you so much. And everybody, make sure keep your mental healthy.